In Venezuela, citizens participate in a great national consultation called Communes Can Do More, with the objective of defining popular projects for the communities. In Palestine, a general strike paralyzes the West Bank to denounce the Israeli bombings in the Nur Shams refugee camp. In Europe, citizens took to the streets in different cities to condemn Israel's genocidal war against Palestinians in Gaza. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Venezuela, people participate in a great national consultation called Communes Can Do More, with the objective of defining by vote the election of priority popular projects for the communities. 15,617 voting centers have been set up in the 23 states of the South American nation for this day of voting. In this consultation called by President Nicolas Maduro, all Venezuelan men and women over 15 years of age may participate, who must choose among nearly 23,000 social projects proposed by the more than 4,500 communes located in the national territory. These projects are aimed at sectors such as health, education, food security, environment, public services and economy, and the winning ones will be financed by the government and executed by the organized communities themselves. And as Venezuela holds a day of consultation on community projects to improve the welfare of the people and address their needs, from Caracas, our correspondent Gladys Quesada has more details on today's event.
Yes, thanks for the time and the contact for all of our audience and also for teleSUR English and From the South. Right now, I'm in downtown Caracas in a commune center called José Pilar Romero, which is one of the many communal centers that are going to receive not only the voters, but also the over 200 international observers that are accompanying this process. And right now, we are going to talk with one of them that is going to give us his impressions regarding this process. So, welcome to teleSUR English and to From the South. First of all, your name, your organization, and which country do you came from?
So my name is Samuel Lolo. I'm the chairman of Mutarako Harmony Cooperative from Nairobi, Kenya.
So first of all, which are your impressions regarding this process and regarding the commune itself? Because right now you are at one of the communal centers and you are able to see for yourself the process, the management, and how they work. So which one are your impressions?
So the people participation in the decision making of the various projects in the community, that is something very impressive. Like the people decide and vote which projects they want the government to fund. That's something I've not seen anywhere else, so it's something very nice.
So exactly regarding the legal process, the consultation process itself, how do you see the management, the organization of each one of the protocol steps for the voting, and how has been the contact with the community and the authorities for you?
So I feel the communities are more organized. They have organized themselves into structures that they're basically running the structures by themselves, and the government is just offering an overall support. But in terms of the people participation and the community participation, the community leaders, it's just amazing.
And what do you take back home from this experience?
Yeah, so my take home is for our Kenyan government to adopt some of these ideas and structures in the Venezuelan government, communities, to let communities to have more public participation with the communities, to let the communities be more involved in the decision makings of their various activities that are affecting them on a day-to-day basis. So with the issue, I'm very impressed with the issue of like the community deciding on various projects like doing the sidewalks, rehabilitating the hospital, rehabilitating some of the housing units. It's quite impressive.
So thank you for your opinions and for your time with us here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So yes, we continue here doing this tour for all the commune centers here in downtown Caracas, and also to gather with the international observers who are accompanying the process. As we were saying, this is a Sunday for popular consultation and commune management here in Venezuela, and to decide over the resources and over the needs of the people. So far, that's the information. So now the signal is going back to you.
Thank you, Gladys. Moving on to other news, in Ecuador, the popular consultation and referendum called by President Daniel Noboa's government began amidst a state of emergency due to the insecurity crisis that the country is experiencing. This Sunday, Ecuadorians go to the polls to answer the 11 questions proposed by the national government related to the fight against criminal gangs and to encourage investments to the country. During the inauguration ceremony, President Daniel Noboa called the Ecuadorian people to exercise their right to vote to fight violence. Ecuador's National Electoral Council set up 4,322 voting centers for this election day. And on Sunday, Ecuadorians have been going to polling stations to participate in the popular consultation or referendum summoned by the president. Our correspondent Elena Rodriguez provides us further details.
We connect with you from Quito, the capital of Ecuadorians, in one of the largest polling stations of the city, where hundreds of citizens have come from early in the morning to exercise their right to vote. This popular consultation and referendum comprises 11 questions made by President Daniel Noboa concerning security, hourly and fixed-term contracts, as well as international arbitration. We must say that at approximately 20 minutes past 6, the chair of the National Electoral Council alongside President Noboa opened the electoral day. Meanwhile, polling stations began to open their doors at 7 o'clock in the morning. A total of 13.6 million Ecuadorians are expected to vote until 5 p.m. in a country where voting is mandatory.
Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Palestine, the West Bank dawns paralyzed by a general strike to denounce the massacre perpetrated by Israeli forces in the Nur Shams refugee camp, where 14 people were killed. The official Wafa news agency reported the closure of schools, university, banks and stores in cities and towns of the West Bank following the calls of the Palestinian forces and movements. Both the Teachers Union and the Transport Union announced a total strike in support of the inhabitants of the Gaza Strip and the Nur Shams camp. The call for a general strike was made by the Palestinian National Liberation Movement, Fatah, and was supported by several factions, including the Hamas movement. The city of Rafah continues to be under heavy attacks by the Israeli occupation troops. Highly populated areas are among their most frequent targets. Let's watch the following report by our correspondent Nur Shams, who has details on this matter.
Continuous Israeli attacks on Gaza, specifically in the city of Rafah, which is now under the Israeli threats of a land invasion. Most of the airstrikes that happened in the Gaza Strip actually during the past 24 hours are in Rafah, and most of these strikes happened in densely populated areas in the heart of Rafah city. For example, and in some highlights, one Israeli strike happened in very close to the Al Auda Square, which is in the heart of Rafah city. This place is filled, with thousands of displaced people who evacuated their home from northern Gaza and from middle Gaza, seeking safety here in Rafah. However, the airstrikes yesterday targeted the Al Auda Square, which is such a densely populated area. Also, another airstrikes happened in the Tal Sultan or Hayy Zuhur. All of these areas are actually densely populated because we are talking about Rafah city, which is now housing more than 1.5 million Palestinians. According to the Palestinian Health Ministry, the number of the death toll here in Gaza has reached more than 34,000 Palestinians. This comes while the Gaza Strip is suffering in the humanitarian situation here on the ground in Gaza, with the lack of water, the lack of food, and also the lack of electricity and all the other necessities like internet and connections. However, what is now busying the minds of Gazans is all the Israeli talks about a land invasion here in Rafah. If this happened, the situation here will be catastrophic. We will be talking about massacres committed here in Rafah. Nur Shams, teleSUR, Gaza.
Thousands of people marched in several European cities to denounce the Israeli regime's genocide in the Gaza Strip and express their support for Palestine. As in the 197th day of Israel's war in Gaza, which has left more than 34,000 dead in the Palestinian enclave, demonstrators in Berlin, Dublin, and Geneva demanded an immediate and permanent ceasefire and called on their governments to stop sending arms to the Zionist regime. In Spain, about 3,500 people gathered in the center of Barcelona to show their solidarity with Palestine and demand an end to Israeli attacks on Gaza, as well as the pro-Palestinian association Comunitat Palestina de Catalunya and Coalició Pro Complicitat amb Israel called the march, which many joined wearing Palestinian scarves around their necks, calling on the Spanish government of Pedro Sánchez to break off relations with Israel. In India, the Election Commission announced the repetition of the first phase of the general elections in 11 polling stations in the northeast domestic region after a shooting and destruction of voting machines. The entity ordered to declare null the voting held on April 19th in 11 polling stations in the state of Manipur, and a new voting date was set for Monday, April 22nd. Authorities indicated that several armed people broke into the polling station and shot at party representatives. So far, it is not known how many people were injured and if there are any deaths. Since May 2023, the state of Manipur has been engulfed by ethnic violence, with the death toll soaring to at least 175 people and the displacement of another 50,000. In Scotland, thousands of people attended the country's independence rally ahead of the general elections later this year. The march through the streets of Glasgow came after the Peter Murrell, former head of the Scottish National Party and pro-independence supporter, was charged with embezzling £600,000 in donations to the independence campaign. The event was also attended by personalities such as the First Minister, Humza Yousaf, and the pro-independence MP, Rose Greer, who expressed their commitment to leading the country towards meaningful change. During the demonstration, many participants carried Palestinian flags and demanded an end to the aggression in the Gaza Strip.
The last 48 hours have been difficult. They have been a bit of a shock for some of us in the movement, for example, for those of us in the SNP. But let me say this, we can't always choose what happens to us in life, but what we can choose is how we react.
Voting for Maldivian parliamentary elections began on Sunday morning after the opening of polling stations across the country and abroad. In this process, some 368 candidates are competing for the 93 seats in parliament of the Asian country, for which more than 280,000 people are summoned. As for the nominees, the ruling National People's Congress and the opposition Maldivian Democratic Party are expected to dominate the race. The country has established 602 polling stations in all constituencies, and there are 3 overseas voting centers located in the city of Colombo, Sri Lanka, Trivandrum, India, and Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with teleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. Russia's air defense systems intercepted 50 Ukrainian drones flying over several regions, including Moscow. The Russian Defense Ministry reported having neutralized a series of attempts by Kiev to carry out terrorist attacks using unmanned aerial vehicles to attack facilities on Russian Federation territory. The military agency detailed that most of the grounded drones by the air defense were reported in the provinces of Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk, and Moscow. The Russian regions bordering Ukraine regularly report the impact of projectiles, drone raids, and other attacks by Ukrainian forces attempting to attack civilians. The Russian Foreign Ministry warned that U.S. approval of the multi-million-dollar aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan will only increase tensions in conflicts. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova pointed out that military aid to Kiev amounts to direct sponsorship of terrorism, and funding for Taiwan means interference in China's internal affairs. Zakharova added that U.S. military aid to Israel lays the groundwork for escalating aggression in the Middle East. Authorities in some southern Chinese provinces have taken emergency measures in response to the heavy rains that have hit the region since Friday. Heavy rainfall on Friday and Saturday stranded many residents at home and disrupted trains and traffic in Guangdong.